Hello and welcome back to Dreamwalker Tarot. My name is Dawn and this is the April reading for Pisces Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Mercury. Thank you for listening. Please go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for post notifications. So this month I am doing the Celtic Cross Tarot spread, and the first card that comes out in the position of your current situation is the Four of Swords. And so when we see the Four of Swords, this is an indication that you need to take a break, get some rest. This card really gives me like really stressed out energy, like stressed out vibes. And so this is usually coming at the end of like a major life event. You could have lost your job, you could have just recently been moving, you could have went through a recent breakup. It's like a major life events that it's the time and the opportunity, or spirit feels like it's the time and the opportunity to kind of like take a break, kind of seclude yourself, really focus on the past and what has happened, and get some clarification, get some clear thinking. It's just like a time for like an emotional check-in. So this is, you should be like meditating, really kind of just clearing your head and looking at the past things that have happened to you that have brought you to the place where you're at right now, and to kind of get some perspective on how to move forward, doing like a self-check and a self-evaluation before you move forward with anything. And the card that comes out in the position of what's crossing you is the Devil card. So this is really like a call for you to kind of take the time, space, and opportunity to look at like the shadow aspects of yourself, to look at like the dark aspects of yourself, to look at the things that hold you back, to look at the things that really kind of like tie you to a situation or tie you to a dynamic, particularly if you feel like you don't have a choice, like you feel like you're kind of just being pulled along, or you feel like you're doing something for instant gratification and not really thinking about what the outcomes beyond that moment of satisfaction is. So this is like a real opportunity to kind of put yourself on a stage, to kind of pull back and look at yourself from what's the word I'm looking for? From an objective point of view, and kind of take the opportunity to kind of like look at some of like your desires and your needs, or the lower aspects, or your lower desires and your lower needs, and to kind of figure out a game plan to kind of get out of like toxic patterns that you might have developed, whether it's over drinking, oversleeping, overeating, overspending, lots of random casual sex. I don't want to say it like that, but I don't know why. Anyway, but yeah, like anything that you do in order to deal with those moments when you crash, those moments when you feel like you've been doing everything that you're supposed to be doing and things don't necessarily go the way that they're supposed to go, or you're like overworked, and then the way for you to like kind of unwind is to like really let go and really party, and so some of the things that you choose to do during that time period, it's like really an opportunity to rest as opposed to doing those things, or it's a time for you to evaluate those things, and to kind of really shine a light on the negative patterns that you have going on in your life, and how you can best kind of like circumvent those things. For some of you, this could be a person in your life. So the Devil card is the card for Capricorn. So you could have been dealing with a person that's a Capricorn, and so if that is the case, then it's a time to look at the dynamic you have with this person, especially if you feel like you might be kind of bound or tied to them, and you don't necessarily want to be, or you do want to be bound to them, and so it's causing you a little bit of stress, right? But it's also it's also unhealthy, like codependent relationships in your life. And so it might not necessarily be a partner, but it might be other people in your life who are surrounding you that you might have an unhealthy, like codependent relationship with. And so that is something to kind of look at. This could also be like exploring like like the darker aspects of like your sexuality or your wild side, like your fetishes, things that you do that you don't necessarily tell everybody about, but it's really just an opportunity to kind of do inventory about your life, where it's going, and to kind of like evaluate like your toxic patterns, right? I am going to use the uh, Grand Tableau Lenormand Oracle deck to do clarifications for all my readings this month. And the cards that come out to clarify the Devil in reverse is the Ship, the Scythe, the Fish, and the Bear. So, okay, so the Scythe is the indication of a swift ending, right? So again, we were saying with the Four of Swords that this comes after something like a major event. So this is definitely an ending for you, and it could have been an ending with a Capricorn, but it's a swift ending. It's an ending that you might not have seen, right? You might not have seen it coming, and so it's like a goodbye. Along with the Ship card, it's like a goodbye, a farewell situation, an ending of a trip or of a journey or of a relationship that was or is very painful for you, right? With the Fish here, when we talk about the Fish, it's talking about like finances. So this ending or this goodbye has ultimately had some sort of impact on your finances. Uh, uh, be, I don't know, I can't talk. You may have been living with this person. You may have been married to this person. Again, this could have been a job. This could have been some sort of employment. But for whatever reason, there was a swift ending that was painful for you that you didn't necessarily see coming. And it has affected your finances. And so I kind of feel like this like really freaking out energy that is kind of like showing up here with the Four of Swords. It's kind of like, well, what do I do now? Like, where do I go now? Where do I go next? But with the Bear card here, there is a sense that there is like a moving away from someone or a situation that might have been kind of like overbearing or dominating. When we see the Bear card, it's a symbol of being dominated or being domineering. And so kind of look at it in perspective in terms of like your own personal situation. It's not going to be the same for everyone, but it's like someone is moving away from a domineering or a domineering personality, and it was a very sudden ending in the relationship or the relationship dynamic, which kind of left you like it was a very painful situation for you. And so with the Devil card here, it might not have necessarily been the best dynamic, but for whatever reason, it being over has definitely affected you on a deep level, whether it just be like finances or just being the fact that it was so sudden. And so now like this is the opportunity to really kind of like take a break after this situation has ended and kind of do some self-reflection. And like I said, look at the darker aspects of the dynamic of the connection, and kind of like figure out, like I said, do a mirror check on yourself and try to figure out what caused this situation, or how it got to where it's gotten, before you move on into a new dynamic or a new relationship or a new job. Like, you don't want to be repeating toxic patterns and toxic behaviors. And so, like I said, I feel like this is Spirit's way of giving you like a pause, and saying that you need to kind of like do some real deep self-evaluation and some deep soul searching, right? So in the past, we have the Hierophant, which is a definite indication that this might have been a marriage situation. And so this is like a breakup of a marriage. But it's also an indication that there was some sort of counsel or counselor, or maybe like a spiritual leader, or someone like on a spiritual note that had like an impact or influence on this dynamic. But it's also a call to you to speak to a therapist or a spiritual advisor, or someone that can help you navigate these waters. But this is really kind of like pointing back towards, like I said, towards a breakup, or like a marriage, or a spiritual connected situation that might have come to an ending. The Hierophant is kind of like the male counterpart to the High Priestess, which is your card. And so there might have been like a sort of spiritual connection with you and this other person, that it's kind of like the dynamic that you're kind of like moving away from right now. But I feel like with this card showing up in the middle of like all of this, in terms of like with the rest and all that stuff, it really is a call to kind of like speak to someone, to get like spiritual counseling, to get spiritual help, to kind of help you navigate and move forward. I had to look up the clarification for this because I felt like this is such a weird placement for this card. And so it's weird. It's interesting because, like I just said, this the Hierophant is the masculine the masculine companion to the High Priestess, which is your card. And the clarification cards that came out is the Man, the Snake, and the Moon. And so ultimately what this is saying is that this is somebody that you were connected to. This again is signifying like a sort of breakup, but what's interesting here is this particular man is extremely intuitive, has a lot of emotional depth, emotional knowledge, and I feel like there are things that might not necessarily have been said by that person because of the way that they ended the situation. I feel like there's something that they may have known, or something that they may have known intuitively speaking, whether they themselves are like a high priest, so to speak, or whether they got consultation or guidance from someone else on a spiritual note, whether it be a pastor, it may have been a counselor. So they were counseled, or they were relying on their intuition. If they are, like I said, like a very spiritual person, or kind of like dabble in the arts as well, that they may have known something, and so that was the reason why they ended the situation in the way that they did, which ultimately is kind of left you in a place of being hurt, right? So that is something to think about if you haven't already thought about that. In the conscious realm, the card that comes out is a Page of Swords. And so this is basically withholding, right? So you're withholding, expressing your truth, especially like, for some of you, this is a child, right? So the page is like really childlike energy. And what's weird is that I literally just did the reading for Aquarius. And so Aquarius also got this card as their current situation in the upright. So if you have an Aquarius child, then you should probably check the reading out. But it's really about like not expressing yourself in an open way. So the things that you are thinking about, or the things that you are feeling, I feel like a lot of that is things that you're kind of like keeping to yourself. And so you might not necessarily be talking or discussing about like the pain that you're feeling, or the things that you're going through on an emotional level, or the things that you're doing in order to kind of satiate the pain that you're in. You're not or you're kind of like talking about it in a way where you're kind of like detached from it. So it's kind of like your actions and the things that you're saying don't actually kind of like match up, right? So when you see like the page, it's also a sense of like you're kind of giving off the energy of, or you can come across as a person that gives off the energy of like, it all. And so you're operating from that space. And so typically when that happens, like these are people that like to do a lot of talking, but they don't like necessarily back it up. It's like all talk, no action type thing, or you're kind of like rushing into decisions or making decisions, kind of like thrusting yourself into it without really thinking about the repercussions, or the outcomes of the things that you're kind of like rushing into. So this is an idea here with the page, is that you can also kind of like be in a space where you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but ultimately this is like a lot of, this is like when Gemini this is like when Gemini energy goes wrong, right? So like just a real chatterbox, really asking a lot of questions that comes across as being annoying. And so sometimes this might not necessarily even be your energy, because I don't feel like it's your energy. I feel like it's someone in your conscious realm that might be like in your space. And so like that is kind of like off-putting to you, particularly if you feel like you need time to rest, or if you're not resting, it might come off a little bit as irritation. So be careful about like over exaggerating things, or if you don't know something, or if you want to know something, it's okay to ask. Just ask outright. But it's also a issue here with expressing the truth, or expressing the way that you really feel about something. It's kind of like a bottled up type energy. So, when things get bottled up, they do have a tendency of exploding in the wrong way. So that's just something to be mindful of, whether that is you or whether that is someone that is around you that might be feeling that way. The clarification for the Page of Swords in reverse is, again, the Scythe, the Mouse, and the Book. And so when you see the Scythe, like I said, it's about quick decisions, quick endings, but it's also about hasty decisions. And so that is kind of like also attached to the Page of Swords, is like making hasty decisions without really thinking. And so when we have the combination of like the Mouse, and we have the Book, and the thing here, this is like also indication to be mindful of accidents, of rushing, of with the Mouse here, it's about bad habits, but it's also about being corrupted. So you want to be aware or be mindful of making hasty decisions that could potentially corrupt. I do feel like this is external energy, so that can kind of like attribute to the breakdown of a relationship with a Page of Swords person that might be in your life, because any type of hasty decision that's being made, or anything that isn't necessarily done on an up and up, will result in a detriment to this relationship, because the Book is about secrets that are being revealed, or unknown knowledge becoming known, right? So it's also kind of like talking about like hurtful truths and things that will come out that aren't necessarily gonna feel good. And so this might be what you're kind of like not speaking about or verbalizing, or you might be like verbalizing it or talking a lot about it in front of someone else, and kind of like revealing certain things that is actually contributing to the deterioration of the relationship that you might have with a air sign, a young air sign person. With the Page here, this is like a child, like maybe like in their teenage years, not necessarily 20 years old yet, but they're like young. It's like young energy. And so that would be like a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius person. And again, I said like this card came out for Aquarius, so you might want to kind of like check that reading out if you get a chance. In the subconscious, the card that comes out is the Seven of Swords. So when we see the Seven of Swords, this is really about deception. It's about betrayal. It's about trickery that's being done. So this could be you, or this could be someone in like your direct sphere, right? So you could be the victim of some, or you could be the victim of someone betraying you, right? The people are not necessarily being honest with you. You're not necessarily aware that you're being lied to, and that people are deceiving you. And so there's people are kind of like trying to be manipulative, or trying to basically kind of like take shortcuts or backdoor action, or trying to like do things behind your back that you don't know about. And so this could be someone that's doing it to you, or you can be doing it to someone else. And so if you are doing it to someone else, I feel like there's a sense of being kind of like nervous about information coming out about the actions that you have been taking. The clarification cards for the Seven of Swords is the Moon, the Tower, the Ring, and the Key. So okay, there's definitely a fear here of something coming out and coming to the surface here with the Moon card. The Moon is like basically a revealer of secrets, right? When things get revealed. So ultimately, if you're afraid of something being revealed, it's going to be revealed. And if you are unsure of anything, if anyone is operating behind your back, it's going to be revealed to you, right? And it's going to be revealed in dreams, right? The key is an indication that it's going to be unlocked. Secrets are going to kind of like be revealed through someone else's intuition or someone else's ability to kind of like tap into their subconscious. And so there's things that might come to this person in their dreams. You might be a dreamer. I know I'm a dreamer. I know that when people are doing things to me or against me or behind my back, I always find out in dreams. They're always revealed. They're always revealed, even if they are doing it from a distance, which is kind of like what's happening here with the Tower card. It's talking about like detachment, and this might be you might be kind of like detached or kind of in a space where you're feeling like a little bit alone, because that is also indication of being kind of like emotionally detached or cold or lonely. And so you might be in a space where you feel like you want to conjure or bring love to you by doing like, this is so weird, by doing like a love spell for the attachment, for the ring. There's like a sense of that kind of like happening. So if you're doing that behind, like in a sneaky way, that is going to come out, right? So you want to be mindful of that, or you should know this before you enter into this, right? But also someone could be doing this to you. There is also a sense that, like I said, any type of like when we see the devil card and we see the sneaky card, and we see the Hierophant, this is also like a sense of like spirituality that has been used for people's own selfish desires or selfish reasonings. And so, like I said, who you or what aspect you play in this situation. So, just be mindful of that. But like I said, all these things tend to kind of like come to light eventually. And so if you are afraid of it coming to light, take a break. Like the Four of Swords says, take a break, take a beat, take a moment. But ultimately, I feel like this is something that is going to kind of come out and come to. And in the near future, the card that comes out is the Ace of Swords. So the Ace of Swords is really talking about justice. It's talking about the truth, getting to like the truth of the matter, the truth coming out. So when we're talking about like, kind of like operating undercover, like that never lasts for long. I feel like whatever is happening here is going to be revealed, and it's probably going to be revealed through like a person's dream, but it is going to come out, right? So this card is also asking you to really kind of like take a look at like your motivations for doing the things that you do, to really sit and get like clarity, and get an open understanding, or a bigger, or giving yourself the opportunity to get a bigger viewpoint, or look at something from a bigger viewpoint. This is also the opportunity for a brand new start. And I feel like when you go into a space of like self-reflection, or really kind of like taking a look at yourself, and how you operate or how you contribute to the dynamic of a situation, or when you are strong enough to tell yourself the truth about the role that you play in a situation, it does give you the opportunity to have a fresh new start with a fresh new outlook. And so there is the opportunity for that here, with the Ace of Swords coming up in the near future, at that too, right? And so the card that comes out in the position of the actions that you're taking, or the actions that are being taken by you at this time, is the King of Swords in reverse. When we see the King of Swords, we understand it to be a type of energy where you're using your intelligence to accomplish something, right? But when that King of Reverse is, when the King of Swords is in reverse, it's talking about it could be talking about like a quiet power, where you're not necessarily being overt and open about the things that you're doing, but it usually kind of like indicates like abuse of your intellect, or using your intellect in a way to get whatever it is that you want to get. It's usually like directed towards like your own desires, or and they may be selfish or they may not be, but it's basically using your intellect to accomplish the goal that you want by whatever means necessary, even if it means to kind of like manipulate the situation for your own benefit. And again, like with all these other cards coming out, there is indication that there is spirituality kind of like attached to this. So I'm going to pull some clarifiers for this card. So the clarification cards are the Star, the Man, and the Fox. And so the Star is like hopeful. It's about like like it can also talk about like spirituality, just being hopeful about your desires and your mission, and your goals, right? But the Man is an indication that this is like masculine type energy, which again, this is a male attached to the King of Swords. So and also the Fox. So the combination of these cards is an indication that you are definitely in masculine energy, which again could if you are a male Pisces, then okay, that's definitely the case. But if you're a female Pisces, this can also just be you tapping into your masculine energy, and the masculine energy is more geared towards getting shit done, right? Or doing certain level work. It's more output as opposed to feminine energy, which is usually more receptive. It's more geared towards getting work done. So there is like this really strong desire to accomplish your mission, accomplish your goals. And in the reverse, again, as I said earlier, it's really about doing that at whatever cost, whatever measures need to be taken to accomplish that. That is happening here. And so with the fox is someone who uses their intellect and their stealth, which also kind of, like I said, it all kind of lines up to what the King of Swords is saying, but it's about using your intellect and your stealth for the direct purpose of accomplishing your goal, but without being kind of like detected. So operating under the radar. The fox is sneaky, can be cunning, can be shrewd, but is definitely calculated and operating in that way for their own purposes. Usually when we see the fox with the Lenormand deck, it's talking about like someone who does whatever they have to do for the preservation of themselves. So their actions, they feel like it is for their own preservation, for their own survival, and it comes at first the first rule is self-preservation, and so that is like really being applied here, right? But with the Star card here, this can kind of indicate a sense of like false hope or just being overly suspicious. And so some of you might be being suspicious of this masculine energy. You might feel like he is kind of like the person employing the methods, but because the King of Wands is in the position of your current actions, I do want to feel like it is your actions. But for some of you, this could just be you being suspicious of the actions of a man that you feel like is selfish or kind of like sneaky or cunning, and that person could be like an air sign, so Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, and so those are the signs that attach to it. The card that comes out in the position of the outside influences that are affecting this dynamic or your situation is being represented here by the Eight of Pentacles. So for me, this is a little weird that the Eight of Pentacles is showing up in the space of the outside influences that are affecting the situation, because usually the Eight of Pentacles is referring to like work or refining work, or really kind of like being like an apprentice, or putting your energy into something to see an outcome. And so that feels a little bit off that it is the outside influence and not being reflected here in terms of like what you're doing. So this is could be a question for you to ask yourself. Where are there aspects in your life where you can be putting in work to kind of like better your situation, which again for me kind of goes back to the whole Four of Swords thing, with taking the time to kind of like reflect on what's going on in your life, and the direction and what you're kind of like pouring your energy into. But this, again, because it's in the position of the outside influences, it makes me feel like there's someone outside of the equation or outside of that dynamic that's kind of like working with you or collaborating with you to kind of help you get your goals accomplished. pulling clarifying cards for this Eight of Pentacles because it's a little weird, the location of it. And so the clarification cards that came out are the uh, birds, the fish, and again, the man is here. So this is the outside person that's helping or affecting the dynamic of the situation. And it's weird because I feel like the man card has come out like 3 times already for this reading. So we have the man card attached to the Hierophant. We have the man attached a card to the King of Swords in the reverse, and now we have the main card attached to the person that's giving you, or the outside influence that's affecting the situation. And so I feel like this person is the same person, right? Or like I said, again, because it's still attached to the person that it's still attached to your action. So this might be someone that you are is helping you to accomplish your goal. But interestingly, the energy that's attached to this masculine person that's on the outside of the dynamic that's kind of influencing the situation is like a nervous type energy. With the birds, it's like a nervous energy, but with the fish and the man card, he's being considered to be a little bit greedy, or he is helping you to acquire the things that you want or the things that you need. And he might be like your spiritual advisor. He could also be someone, again, who is like just like a very intuitive person, but he's actively doing work, or he's helping you by doing work on the outside of this dynamic to assist you, if that makes any sense. I don't know, that it feels a little weird. I don't know. But the card that comes out in the position of your hopes and your dreams is the Lover's card. So ultimately, it looks like um, you are really trying to navigate into a space where you feel like you have a genuine connection with someone, an openness, and this is also not just about like relationships, but it's also talking about having like an ultimate connection with someone where you feel open. There's like a reciprocal give and take energy, but it's also about decisions making, right? Making decisions from like an informed place, because a lot of the decisions that we make are going to impact they're going to have like lasting impact on other aspects of our lives, right? So some of you could be entertaining or dating or trying to get to know like a Gemini person, Gemini individual. There's the Lover's card is a Gemini card. So you might be kind of dealing with a Gemini, which could also be like that King of Swords energy that is showing up here. But this is ultimately what you want. This is ultimately, you want to find this connection. You want to find someone that loves and cares about you, and really is about you. So that seems to kind of be like the thing that you want the most out of this whole situation, out of this whole dynamic. But again, if you are coming out of a breakup, or you're coming out of divorce, or you're coming out of a situation that has ended, the cards back at the very beginning said the suggestion from Spirit is to kind of like take a break, take a rest period to kind of like evaluate like your next steps, and kind of like put yourself in a space of seclusion so that you can really think about what your past situations and how they kind of like played out, so that you can make decisions, informed decisions moving forward in terms of like relationships or partnerships, or any type of ship that you might want to kind of get into later on. The final outcome, the card that comes up for you guys, is the Seven of Cups in the reverse. And so when we see the Seven of Cups, it's really a mixed bag in terms of the outcome. Whatever you put into the situation is what you're going to get back. But this is also like a warning to you and an admonition to you that things that like they always say, like everything that glitters isn't gold. Things might not always be what they appear to be. People might not be who they necessarily appear to be, and so something can be presented in a certain way to you that doesn't necessarily have the outcome, or it's presented in a way, but then that's really not it. Like, you're not getting like the full story, right? You may find that in the future, you're presented with multiple choices, multiple decisions, multiple paths, multiple ways to go. And so it's going to feel a little bit overwhelming to you, because at this point, the decisions that you make have to align with your personal values, and are in alignment with the person that you want to be, right? The person that you want to show up as in this world. And so it's gonna be an opportunity for you to make a decision and a choice, based on your own values and based on, like I said, the outcomes that you want. But be mindful that a lot of the times the decisions that we make are kind of influenced by things that are going on around us. And so you're going to need the opportunity to kind of like ground yourself and make a decision coming from an informed place, rather than just making like the decision that just appears to be the best decision. Sometimes, like I said, again, things that are presented to us, or things that are given to us, may not necessarily be the best choice for us. And so we have to be mindful about the decisions that we make, because these decisions will have lasting impact on us down the road. For clarification, the cards that came out for the Seven of Cups is the Rider, the House, the Garden, and the Snake. And so this is an indication that there's going to be someone that kind of like shows up. So someone is going to come with some news. The Rider is a person that kind of comes in, they drop the news off, and they go. It's a somewhat of painful news. It might be revealing some deception that has happened within the family, within the household, with the house here. So this is also a revelation. It'll also kind of like reveal your secret desires, or what you might have secretly been desiring or doing on a subconscious level. So if, like, again, I said earlier that with the Seven of Swords and the Ace of Swords that came out, that is going to be a revelation of secrets, or anything shady that has happened is going to kind of come out, and it's going to hurt a couple people. But this is also things that are done kind of like in the dark are going to be brought to light with the Garden here, because the Garden is about the public. So it might be like I said, someone coming to the house, or just kind of like showing up and like revealing this information. But it also might be something that kind of comes out on social media, or in a very public social gathering. But it is going to be a little painful for you, because I feel like a lot of the things that you secretly do, think, or feel are going to be kind of like revealed on like a public, in a very public way. And so and this also has a lot to do with like your family dynamic, your family traditions. So it's going to be the opportunity to kind of like separate from old family traditions and new traditions, and really kind of like figuring out how you want to like move forward as a family unit, if you're going to keep the same traditions that you have, or if it's going to be a departure from that. Because at the end of the day, like I said, a lot of the times the things that you see aren't necessarily what they are. And I feel like this is going to be revealed to you in a very public way. And so this is something that, like I said, will be happening as a direct outcome of all the things that are going on right now. I will be using the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck for advice. And there are 3 cards that came out. And the 3 cards that came out for you guys is High Priestess, the Drum card, and Direction Guardian. The first card, High Priestess, says to harness mystic power. Align with the light and focus on all things positive. The High Priestess is the physical embodiment of the divine feminine, the goddess in human form. She has had many names through time and space, but her essence has remained similar, fierce, powerful, and disciplined. In many traditions, particularly pre-Christian, the High Priestess was in charge of spiritual and religious orders and was the voice of authority and guidance from the gods. The high priestess in this deck is the consort and partner of the high priest. If you take a look at them together, you see that they mirror each other's energy. She is joined by a black cat representing the Egyptian goddess Bast, who protects her from lower energies, and she stands strong in her glory and power. On a side note, that's literally what I said earlier, because the high priest anyway, and this card is really your card also. So you are a mystic with the capacity to connect with energies that go beyond the human senses. Within you is a force of magic that is directed by your will. There is an opportunity for you to rise up at this time, but it requires dedication and discipline. You are being guided to look at what you are working on or at the situation before you and determine where your priorities lie. If you are unable to figure that out, you must use your intuition and discernment to focus on what will bring you closer to your goal and the happiness for everyone involved. When this card arrives, it is important for you to check in with your intuition, as it will give you guidance that will be important for your growth. The second card is the Direction Guardian, which says to choose your path. Connect with your deepest desires, then choose the path that will make your heart and soul sing. The Direction Guardian card represents the angels of direction. These amazing angels are the ones who come to us when we are at a crossroads and don't know which way to go. When we are unsure of what is right for us or of the bigger picture. They can help us know what is best for all involved. The Direction Guardian card refers to the vision of the Hebrew prophet Ezekiel, who is said to have seen an angel with 4 different faces. One was a child, a cherub, one was a bull, one was a lion, and one was an eagle. And that actually kind of makes up the card for the Wheel of Fortune card. So this is really kind of like speaking to the fact that you have the opportunity to make a decision about what direction you're going to go in. And that's going to lead, it could take you down one path or it can take you a path, but you're getting the opportunity to make a choice about your decisions. Let me read the rest of the card. One was a bull, one was a lion, and one was an eagle. These 4 faces show that angels can appear in many guises and guide us in many different directions, but always for our highest good. Your path isn't set in stone, and your angels and guides have no expectations for you, nor should you have any for yourself. There are many directions you can take, and none of them are wrong, as they all hold perfect opportunities to grow and to learn. But life is to be enjoyed and savored, so if you know that there's a decision to be made, and particularly if you're feeling indecisive, choose the path you know is going to make you light up, and choose with your heart. The Drum card is saying dream and journey. Journey in words to cover insights and information that will be important for your path. Then follow the guidance. In shamanic traditions in all 4 corners of the world, the drum is recognized as the main tool used by medicine men and women to direct their will and meditation. A drum beat can become hypnotic and send those listening into an altered state that can allow them to journey to the spiritual realms and meet their guides. When the drum card appears in a reading, there are opportunities for you to dream or to bring an inner vision into reality. You are being connected to the other worlds at this time. The wisdom and intelligence of the earth and her magic surrounds you. The drum, which echoes the sound of Mother Earth's heartbeat, has cleared the cobwebs and dust from your inner vision. What you have seen in your dreams and inner vision is not imagination but guidance, particularly if it has been coming to you repeatedly and has the potential to become reality. Dreams come true, know it and live it. So that was a really good reading. It's kind of long, and I do want to apologize because I feel like the sound is kind of wonky towards the end. I apologize. I had to move my location to finish the reading. So I hope that the audio is okay for you guys. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the choices that you make always have like outward spiraling ramifications. And so right now, Spirit is asking, before you make any major decisions in your life, before you move forward, really take the time to sit and think about the choices that you make, and make the choice that is for your greatest good and for the good of everyone involved, right? So thank you so much for listening to this reading. I really appreciate you for being here and for listening throughout this whole thing. Please go ahead and like the video, share your thoughts and comments below, and let me know how this is kind of like working out in your life. Share the video with someone, a friend who you feel could benefit from the message. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for post notifications. Thank you again, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.